Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to XDefiant. We are now officially 2 days away from Season 1 launching. The gameplay here today, it's going to be a bit slower. I'm not going to lie, I kind of camped a little bit. It's Team Deathmatch. I'm trying to get that Streak XP because it's currently a double weapon XP event and I'm using a token in this match. Therefore, I'm getting quad XP and I just need you guys to watch the weapon levels throughout this game because things get absolutely absurd. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be taking a look at an interview coming from the CEO of Ubisoft talking about XDefiant, how many players they have currently, as well as their plans for the future. It's nothing really crazy or mind-blowing, but still something I thought was interesting, so let's just go ahead and jump into this. During the interview, the question was posed, while some games as a service games have retained a significant loyal player base, we've seen a great number of publishers try and fail in this landscape. What can Ubisoft bring to the games as a service market to ensure they stand out from the crowd? Which is a fair point. I mean, how many games have come out that just were popular maybe for a little bit and then just simply died? How many shooter games over the years came out that we're all like, man, that's gonna be the COD killer, then it's like gone within a month or so? You know, that's happened countless times, to which the Ubisoft CEO responds, we need to continue to listen closely to our players and make well-informed decisions on where to focus our efforts, because if you succeed at games as a service, you can succeed in the long term. Let's look at XDefiant. There's a lot of work to do, but it was able to attract 11 million players in a short time, and that number will increase with all the work done by the team to ensure Season 1 brings a lot more to the existing experience. It's about making the right choices and sticking to them. So far, I think XDefiant's done a pretty good job of that. So far, they're making changes based on that community feedback. They're looking at things like sniper flinch, or looking at things like bunny hopping. They definitely addressed weapon XP, and the entire idea of making the right choices and sticking to them. You know, they revamped weapon XP a couple of times, right? I think a big part of making the right choice is realizing that sometimes you might think something's the right choice, but it doesn't work out well for your player base, and instead of being bullheaded about it, the team over at XDefiant, the Ubisoft team, they actually listened to that player feedback and made multiple changes based on that community feedback until they got the game's weapon XP to a point where the vast majority of the community seems to be pretty happy with it. That is how you do a games as a service, in my opinion there. They could have just very easily been like, you know what, 14% faster weapon XP, but we're shifting the goalpost, and bronze is now 100, silver is 150, and gold is 200. That was their initial plan, and then we looked at that and we're all like, this sucks. This is actually worse than what we had before. Why would you do this? So they went back to the drawing board. They revamped things yet again, and now they're in a much better place. They are definitely listening to the community. They're making informed decisions based on that community feedback, and I think XDefiant is doing a pretty good job with that so far. The next question here is, what are your hopes for XDefiant in the future? To which they respond, well, outside of it being continually updated with different experiences and optimized gameplay, I'd love to see it as a serious esport. But really, for a game like this, there's no limit to its future. We've got a fantastic team on it who are listening to our players and communicating with them, which is so crucial. We've started off strong, but there's still a long way to go, and I'm excited for us to step up to the challenge. So XDefiant's future really is up in the air. Like they say, you know, there's really no limit to the game's future, technically, right? There's so much they could do with a game like this because it's not tied down to anything. The only thing it's tied down to is it's a shooter game, and it's going to have things from the Ubisoft universes, right? Basically everything under the Ubisoft umbrella, which is pretty freaking big, by the way. Here's a list I saw on Twitter of a whole bunch of Ubisoft games. It's kind of weird, like, I never really played Ubisoft games before. I was just never really into them. I played a couple of like the Ghost Recon games back in the day, the Tom Clancy's and things like that. But overall, I was never really that big of a Ubisoft guy. Call of Duty kind of took over for me for a number of years there. Then, of course, I got into Borderlands. I got into Fallout, the sports games like Madden, NCAA football, which last time they had that was 2014. Now they're finally coming out with a new one. Of course, all the Blizzard games, things like World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, things of that nature. Like, I just never, for whatever reason, got into these Ubisoft games. So if XDefiant can appeal to me as someone who is not a Ubisoft fan, like by default, then I think they're doing something good. Because for a number of people, you know, seeing things from Ghost Recon, you know, seeing things from the Far Cry games and things of that nature, like having that stuff be built into the game is fun for fans of those franchises. We've seen leaks and rumors coming out a lot recently in regards to the different factions that'll be coming out during the first year of XDefiant's life cycle, and the Assassin's Creed franchise is going to be adapted into XDefiant. We obviously know that Rainbow Six Siege is going to be the first new faction coming out with Season 1. They have all these different universes and IPs to draw upon to add to XDefiant, which is obviously huge if you're already a fan of Ubisoft games. If you're a fan of Assassin's Creed, for example, it's going to be cool to have Assassin's Creed stuff put into XDefiant. But even then, if you're just a fan of fun, fast-paced arcade shooter gameplay, then XDefiant works for you as well. For me, it's interesting. I don't know anything about any of these franchises. I don't really know much about Ghost Recon. I don't really know anything about Far Cry, especially the Far Cry characters that are in the game right now. I played Far Cry 3 way back in the day, but that was pretty much it, Like, I don't know anything about the current characters that we have in the game, but it doesn't matter. I'm interested in learning about them because I'm playing with them every day. I'm on these maps based on Far Cry locations. I'm using these Far Cry characters, and it's making me interested in those games, which is such good marketing. It's such a good strategy. It's something that Blizzard has been doing for a very long time. If you guys haven't really paid attention to that, Blizzard owns, which of course is part of Activision, which is now part of Microsoft. Blizzard owns so many iconic IPs. You have World of Warcraft, you have StarCraft, Diablo. Like, these are some pretty major IPs, and what they've done throughout all these years is they tried to intertwine all of those games in one way or another, so that you're not just a fan of Diablo, for example, you're a fan of Blizzard. You're not just a World of Warcraft player, you're somebody that plays all Blizzard games. Then they had Heroes of the Storm, which unfortunately was a massive flop. It was a MOBA game similar to League, but not quite like League, which just took like all the different Blizzard universes and put them into one MOBA game. So you have like, Diablo characters running around, you have like the Lost Vikings characters running around, Warcraft characters, StarCraft characters, like everything was in that game all at once. It was kind of cool having that be a big melting pot. Well, unfortunately, that game ended up failing over time, but XDefiant is doing something similar with all the Ubisoft things, and it's in a fast-paced arcade shooter environment as compared to a MOBA. I think XDefiant has much more appeal to a much broader audience than Heroes of the Storm, and it's going to be interesting for sure to see exactly how they're going to be taking this game going forward. I almost wanted to call it a franchise there for a second, but it's not even going to be part of a franchise. XDefiant, the way they described it, they're hoping this game's out for like the next 10 years. They're hoping for this game just to be continuously updated over and over and over, not unlike what they've done with Fortnite. When Fortnite came out and they had the Battle Royale mode in there, it was one thing, but they just kept adding more seasons, and eventually those seasons became chapters and everything else, and eventually Fortnite just became this phenomenon. They're hoping for XDefiant to do something similar. Is it realistic for XDefiant to become the next Fortnite? Absolutely not. Like, how's that ever going to happen? Like, you can't catch lightning in a bottle like that twice. Like, there's never going to be another game like Fortnite. At least I don't think there's going to be. But that's okay, because XDefiant is doing pretty damn well, doing what it does right, which is giving us that fast-paced arcade shooter gameplay that's free of skill-based matchmaking, that has bright, beautiful, colorful maps, fun guns, funny characters, funny voice lines. Like, it's so lighthearted and chill and enjoyable, and I'm excited for the future of the game. I really am. We're very close to Season 1 dropping, and I'm hoping that they really hit the ground running with Season 1 to get people really hyped for the game, because I talked about it in my previous video, the preseason is pretty much over now. We have like, a day or two before Season 1 drops, and so 6 weeks have gone by, and I barely noticed that 6 weeks had gone by. I'm still playing the game every day, leveling up my guns and, trying out the different factions, trying out different combos, different attachments for my guns and things of that nature. Like, the game, it's been out for almost 2 months now, a month and a half at least, right? And I didn't really notice, even though there was no real updates to speak of, besides changing up weapon XP and of course adding in Team Deathmatch. So Season 1 has all the potential in the world. XDefiant might get even more of a boom coming from Season 1 if they add a bunch of content to it and it gets a bunch of hype behind it. But as always, we're gonna have to wait and see how things play out, and we're gonna have to wait and see exactly what the XDefiant devs have in store for us with Season 1 and onward. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this update video here today. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your thoughts and feedback down there in the comments. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.